All right. Well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Today is June 9th, 2020. This is episode number 56. And today what we're going to take a look at is trait 45. It is the one voice of the tribe, and it's about gathering together. So that's what we're going to be taking a look at today. Now, of course, before we get started, let's say hello to our panel. So hello, welcome, Natalie. You there, Natalie?
Yeah, there we go. Hi!
Yay. Great nice to have you. And you have 45, the trait 45 in your design 3 times.
Yes.
So very interesting. And Chris, hey Chris, welcome.
Hey, hi everyone.
Awesome.
Glad to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, and Chris just did her BG5 baseball webinar this morning. So she did an awesome job. So congratulations on that. We will have a recording that we'll be posting later on. So if you're interested in viewing the recording, search for that. There's a link on our homepage, so you can find it there, and we'll have it on YouTube and also in our free resources as well. So thank you for that, Chris. Yeah. Very exciting.
Super fun. Yeah.
And hey, Lavina.
Hi, my friends. Oh, I have to say that baseball, BG5 baseball was definitely, don't miss it if you're new to BG5. And even if you don't know what baseball is, Chris, you did a great job at helping us understand it. I'm not in a baseball fan kind of thing, but I found it really entertaining and hilarious at times. It was really great to hear you. So thanks.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Awesome job. So yes, we invite all of you to take a look at it. It's really a really fun analogy, and taking a look at how all of the different types play together, and how how we work together, and all of that. So we have an article. Chris wrote a brilliant article, and the webinar just goes along with it fantastically. So thank you again, Chris. And once again, welcome to everyone who is here live in our Zoom room, or watching us live via Facebook Live, or watching us via the recording on YouTube. So it's great to have you all here. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you want to join in the conversation, we invite you to do so, especially if you're here live. You can raise your hand, or you can type in the chat area, and on Facebook Live you can type in the chat area, and we always appreciate comments if you're and likes and subscribes if you are watching us via YouTube. All right, let's take a look at trait 45. And I just want to back up for a moment and just kind of take a look at our journey through form. So we've been really taking a look at the different elements. I also put in what today's, basically the energy is of today, that chart here as well. But we have been taking a look at, and what's very interesting in the time that we're in, is we're going through this sort of time of form is all connected to communication and action. So we started with the three voices of the individual to start the focus on form, with assimilation in 23. We took a look at contribution in 8. We took a look at contribution in 8, and contemplation in the 20. And if you want to catch up with any of our past episodes, you can find those on our website. You can also find them in YouTube as well. And then last week we took a look at progress, and the week before that we took a look at the mirror of that, which is the skills in the 16. So we took a look at the mirrored collective voices, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. We're moving to this 4th one here, which is all about the tribe. So we're going to take a look at the one tribal voice, this gathering together in the 45. And, with all the craziness continuing to happen in the world, it's very interesting as we take a look at this is the chart of today. So this is sort of the daily frequency, if you will. And it's very interesting to see that what has had emphasis and what has been defined is really the search for inner truth, right? If you see the 64 connected up here with the 24, not the 64, sorry, the 61, sorry, my little dyslexia there, the 61, the 61 connected to the 24, you know, this strength right here is really about finding inner truth. And that's, you know, one of the things that I feel that's going on right now is that everyone is sort of searching and seeking for that inner truth. And I'm going to go to the next slide. I'll come back here if anyone wants to mention anything about what's happening today. But this is just a random, interesting observation. Next week we're going to be taking a look at caution in the 12. But this is just an interesting observation. You know, we were talking about the nodes the future and past direction last week, and we were taking a look at it being in the past direction being in the 10 and the future direction being in the 15, right? The 10 being the love of self, the 15 being the love of humanity. And very interesting, shortly after it moved into this as sort of the background, the environment that we're currently in, that's when the national emergency was announced here in the United States. And I was thinking, you know, the past and future direction, it's an 18.6 year cycle. I wonder what happened about 18.6 years ago. And this is what I found, which I found absolutely fascinating. Because if you take a look at when 9/11 happened, 9/11 also happened shortly after we moved into the past direction of the 10 and the future direction of the 15. So if you think of the last sort of major event that has happened that really had us look at ourselves and also look at humanity, that was a big event as well. So just an interesting noticing of the patterns. So I don't know what it means or anything. I just thought it was just a very interesting observation that I thought I would share just because I found it absolutely fascinating. So with our panel, I would love to hear anything that kind of you see, for example, in what's been happening, what you see, or anything else that you would like to add before we sort of jump in and dive into what the 45 is all about.
I'm just like, wow. You probably saw my face. I was like, wow. I think that is about 9/11. I think that is just, yeah. I mean, the cycles of that is really, really fascinating. So.
Yeah, and Nina is saying there were moments in the last few months where it felt like 9/11. Very interesting, interesting indeed, right? It was some kind of big event that really affected, again, our own personal behavior, and then also taking a look at this love of humanity as well, where it's moved us to. So just an interesting thing to ponder.
It is something to ponder, and this is something totally random, not maybe related or not, but I just think it's interesting. I think numerology is kind of interesting, and I look at it's 911 COVID-19. I just think 9 has a lot of completion energy in it. I just think that that's really interesting, that there's both an ending of some way that we experience the world and in a beginning, and that the way things end and begin may not always be super nice. and that, so that's just my random little pattern observation right there. So.
Right. Also the nodal cycles is almost 19 as well.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Again, don't know what this has to do with anything, just something just really things out. That make you go,
Yeah, exactly. Just geeking out on numbers and stuff, that's what we do here.
Yeah. And as Lavina was saying, 911 was certainly an extreme behavior as well, right? And the mutation of the channel 1949 and the 19, as Lisa was talking about, right? So there is that piece that's starting to break down as well. Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So again, just something interesting to ponder. Lavina, I didn't know if there was anything else that you wanted to add. I know you have you've talked about it before, just kind of what this real pressure on really getting to the inner truth and what that's about too. So again, just kind of recognizing this in the crazy times that we're going through. We're living this stuff real time. So it's just a fascinating thing to observe and to notice.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be really easy to get caught up in the trying to understand why it's all happening, what's really going on, what does it all mean? And I guess I have no idea either. I'm totally drawing a blank as far as the correlation personally. But to remember what the qualities, what we're moving towards is being able to love humanity. So if we don't, then what happens is we don't survive. You know, if we don't all learn how to get along, we don't all learn how, you know, what are appropriate behaviors in our collective society, then we have anarchy, we have chaos, we have confusion. So it's a good idea to not get too caught up, I think, at this time, because I hear a lot of people getting really stressed out and getting really caught up in, you know, all of these things. Remember, go back to your decision-making strategy, because this is where we can lose focus trying to understand why. And yes, you can use the energetics of the frequency of what's happening right now to help you find your own inner truth. But remember, inner truth is a personal thing, and you're never going to have the collective agree with you, because inner truth is your own personal, subjective experience. And yet we're all being conditioned to look out and look at humanity's behavior and then get caught up in losing track, losing focus, and pretending to be certain, and it must be this way. And then we have arguments and fights, and it doesn't help anything, right? It really helps to be able to use your own authority or your own personal decision-making strategy to make sure that you're doing what is needed for you right now in this time. And that's how you can best serve humanity, is behave correctly.
Beautifully said, Lavina. Very beautifully said. You know, and it leads really nicely into what we're taking a look at with the 45. Now, the 45 is the one voice of the tribe. And the voice of the tribe, and if we take a look at what trait 45 is gathering together. And one of the things Lavina said is that, you know, what happens if we don't have that love of humanity, right? And how do we gather together? How do we stand strong together as humanity? Because if we don't, we won't survive as well. So if we take a look at what the 45 is about, you know, it's the gatherer, it's the ruler, it's the voice of the tribe, and it's the voice of I have. It can also be the royal we as well. This is something that we take quite a deep look at in OC16, because it's also, in a sense, the voice of the OC16 as well. If you take a look at looking at larger organizations. It's, again, the one voice of the tribe, and it's the visible figurehead. So it's the king, it's the queen, it's the CEO, it's the president. It's the figurehead that you identify with as the visible figurehead of the business, of the country, of you know, whatever of the organization, etc. And this is the ability to gather people together and to manifest what is needed to expand a business or a community. And it's the natural and generally beneficial attraction to like forces. And its generosity is the key to harmony and to community. So this generosity, remember, even though this is the one voice of the tribe, if this person, you know, if you have the 45 and you act in a selfish way, it's not going to work. It is very tribal. And so generosity is the key to harmony in the community. So this is bringing forth harmony. We've been in a lot of chaos, right? Over the past couple weeks, there has been a lot of chaos in many different communities. And, you know, trait 45 is this gathering together. and generosity as the key to harmony within the community. You know, so it's interesting again, you know, how this starts to play out. So I'd love to hear your take, Natalie, on the 45, especially having the 45 3 times in your design. Sort of what your perspective is, and what you see, or anything you want to draw out about the 45.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is one of the things. I have it in an undefined communication action function, and I just do it. So this is really one of those things that sometimes you it's difficult to recognize yourself, right? So the gathering together, like in general, that is really, you know, if I look at my classes, but any groups that I'm participating in, right? So or anywhere I am. I was abroad for half a year in Spain when I studied, and I just, you know, gathered all the foreign students together to do trips and whatever, right? So woo, it's just creating the tribe, but also it's always mutually beneficial, right? So it's never for, although it says I have, but it's not the I have and you don't kind of thing, right? It is more of so we together created this, and thus I have a good time, or I have in that sense, or in the sense of now being a teacher, so I can make money. So that's my living. But yeah, it's you also give education. Actually, you really lead. You really, I don't know what to say. It's just,
I love it. But that's a really good point, Natalie. One thing that I realized I didn't add on here that really should be here is education. Because one of the main roles of the 45 and gathering people together is this educational element, right? Educating how we can work together as a tribe, how, you know, how we can create things as a tribe, right? The natural and generally beneficial attraction to like forces, you know, and how can, you know, these like forces, we're a tribe, we believe the same thing, we're connected in one way or another, you know, how can, you know, educating, you know, the tribe on everything from how to behave to, you know, to what, you know, what is correct and what is not as far as the behavior of the tribe.
Yeah, what comes to mind for me right now, and I was thinking if I could see something like what is happening in the United States, and of course you see it way better, you're over there, but with all of the riots, etc., like Martin Luther King is a perfect example of a 45, educating the tribe on how to approach this, right? So and I don't know who stands up right now, if you see anybody stand up or in the communities, but what I like about what I see in these things is that the community stand together, and there's probably somebody who takes the role of the gatherer, and they come with their brooms and with their whatever, and they clean the mess up, and that, so the one that is gathering together in that sense is, you know, we the people. I'm not sure, it is we, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Natalie. Yeah, exactly. How about for you, Chris?
I was just listening to what Natalie was saying. I was just like, my observation of Natalie is like that she's so adept naturally at just bringing people and things together, like groups, and just it's like she's great at herding cats and also just really inspiring people to come together. But I really love what you're talking about there, and that energy of it's the I, but it's like I have more than enough to share, and it's for all of us. Or you know, on the opposite is like I don't have enough and I need others to come in. And I just think that there's a beautiful, I think you're touching on that energy there, or speaking to that energy. And yeah, it's really cool. I do see, I will say this, that I often, when I'm working with, I have a couple CEO entrepreneur, like they're the CEO of a larger company, not just a solopreneur or something like that. And they have the 45, and it's, you know, and it's remarkable, especially if it's unconscious, how many of them have said to me, oh, I don't know if I'm really cut out to be a leader, or I'm not sure. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Oh, let's just talk about that, because it's all over your design here. Anyway,
Yeah, I had a client recently exactly the same.
yeah, exactly. It's like, I don't know. And that's one of those things, especially if it's unconscious, where it's like this, I really want to be that. I want to be seen that as that. And then we look at the design and we say, of course you do. And of course you're in that place, because that is your natural expression. And here's how you may not be allowing yourself to really express it. And again, if it's unconscious, it would be, you know, challenging to be consciously aware of it.
Yeah. And you know, with what you guys were both saying, there is a huge responsibility, right, that goes along with being the voice of the tribe. And oftentimes people can, you know, resist it, or don't want to take it on, or think that it's not a part of them, right? And so part of really learning your design is, you know, those places. And there's different ways that you can step up and be a leader. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a CEO of a company, you know, but it can be, you know, the tribal leader of the family, a small family as well. You know, so it can show up in a lot of different ways. And Nina is asking, how do you balance leading and knowing when enough is enough? And also when others want me to lead and I don't want to. Any advice? And so the advice is always going back to, you know, your decision-making strategy, right? Your decision-making strategy will let you know when enough is enough, if you trust it. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, is to simply trust your decision-making strategy. Also, if others want you to lead and you don't want to, you know, having the courage to say no. Some of us oftentimes have a hard time saying no, and we say yes to everything, and then we can end up burning ourselves out. And so again, the gift of our decision-making strategy is that anytime, you know, by following that and being true to our decision-making strategy, it will lead us in the right direction, so we don't burn ourselves out, so we can have that balance, so we don't say yes to things that we really don't want to do. Yeah, great question. Beautiful. Anything, Lavina, that you would like to add?
Yeah, it's a fascinating subject, especially when you have the other side of the strength and recognizing the dynamic here. This is one of those places where there's a lot of potential tension between people in corporations, where one person maybe tries to control the other person wants what the other person has. So again, just like Karen was saying, always going back to the decision-making strategy and let go of the power struggle that is here, because the 45 is a trait of dominance. It's the top of the hierarchy in small groups. There's other dynamics at play, but here it's the person that is designed to be the head of a larger group. And so, you know, there's no end to hierarchies and large groups of people. There's always a pecking order. And what can happen here is power struggles, power trips, one person trying to control how the other person implements or does their work. And the one that has the other side, the 21, needs to be given full control of how they earn and how they implement in that corporation. Otherwise, it just doesn't work, and there can be challenges at bay.
Yeah, Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up too. And this can also be why people can be uncomfortable with it, right? They may have felt like they got punished either in some kind of power struggle, or that oftentimes they kind of don't own the power of what that is because of potential negative experiences and tension that they may have experienced in the past as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and this is one of the most beautiful strengths. It stands on its own if you look at the body graph, in that there are two different flows of streams of awareness that flow into this particular strength. And when there is a dynamic of one and the other, so as an example, my husband is a 45 and I have the 21. And when we can work together, everything flows. When we're equally generous with each other, when we can support each other and not have the dynamic of trying to control or one up or anything like that, what can happen is it becomes a really harmonious partnership that supports everyone that's involved. So it's one of the key areas of the body graph where we can have one of the most beneficial partnerships that can make money, because this is a strength that is about having things, ownership, buying things. It's all about the material path. It's the expression of the material path. So it's a really important thing to grasp when you have an aspect of this, so that you don't suffer so much and struggle and, you know, always think that there's something wrong. It's about learning to have generosity, mutual generosity.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. So generosity really is the key. And one of the things that we take a look at in OC16 is we take a look at that dynamic tension, just like Lavina was talking about, that dynamic tension between the 45 and the 21, and taking a look at when they can work together as a we, right? Because oftentimes the power struggle is, you know, I have this and you have that and I want that, ma, right? But if you really settle into the we, right, that we are all doing it together, we're all in it together, that generosity, that, you know, the resources are for all of us, that generosity opens things up really to support the entire tribe. Yeah, very beautiful. Now, when we're taking, and again, remember, this is part of form, right? So it is very material. And as Lavina was just saying, the 2145 is also the strength of management. It's also the strength of money as well, right? It's part of the material way as well. And when we take a look at the trait that is associated here, it's a very interesting trait, so or quality. When we take a look at the quality that's attached to the 45, the trait of the 45, the quality is 3. And remember, the 3 is always the trial and error. It's the pioneer. It's interesting that it is exclusion, right? You're either a part of the tribe or you're not a part of the tribe. And if you take a look at the elevation, it's the ability, when excluded, to take whatever measures necessary to dissolve the antiquated forms and to accept even humiliation to achieve inclusion. So it's the instinct to find a way to be included in the material process. So in a sense, it's sort of being excluded from the tribe and doing anything that you need to do in order to be a part of the tribe. You can often see this a lot, for example, in sororities and fraternities, right? They have some kind of initiation type thing that you're really not a part of them. You're not a part of their tribe unless you humiliate yourself in some way, right? So we can see that in exclusion. On the challenging side, this can be an aggressive and often violent reaction to exclusion. So the expression of frustration when not included in the material process, right? And, you know, so just be aware that, you know, that's some things that we could experience, especially today. You know, where are you feeling excluded? You know, where are you reacting to being excluded? You know, again, we were talking earlier about, you know, finding your own inner truth. And maybe your inner truth doesn't match up with, you know, what other people's inner truth is, right? Because it's very individual. So that may have you feel excluded as well. So I'd love to hear.
We lost, Lavina's gone, And Karen froze. Uh-oh. It's a third line day. Belinda can hear me. Okay. Oh, all right. There's Lavina. She's coming back on. Thank you, Belinda, for letting me know that. So this is also a third line.
Yes, there we go.
There we go.
I was like, where's my mic? Yeah, so yeah.
Oh, okay, Karen's gone. Maybe she's gonna pop back in here. So one of the things I'll just point out as we're talking here about a third line day is that, you know, trial and error, things can happen. Things like, you know, it's like, oh, it's working, not working, whoopsie, you know. So anyway, just kind of a fun little.
Yeah. On a third line day, you may have a lot of equipment that all of a sudden does weird stuff, like exactly. We are seeing now. Yeah. Yeah, and it's not just you, Lavina. Technological snappers. How do you say that?
Snafus.
Snafus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do 3 recordings nowadays because like one online, one on the live stream, and one on my computer, just to make sure. And even with that, a couple weeks ago, I had a class totally not be recorded. So we always have to watch out on third.
That's crazy. Well, is there anything you want to say more about this? Oh, well, we lost Karen because we don't have slides. So
yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
Yeah, but I have the slides. Well, I cannot. Yeah, who's the host now? Let's see. Maybe I can put them up.
Is there anything that you want to say, Lavina, about a little bit more about 45 while we're waiting? I love anybody who, if you're on Facebook, Lavina had put in there, if you have trait 21, then watch the urge for compulsive shopping. And I do have the 21. I'm like, oh, I really want to go shopping this week. So that's so great. I love it. I love it. Just, you know, next couple days, just watch that.
All right. Can you see my screen now? Yeah. Okay. So maybe we can discuss a little bit this quality 3. It's actually interesting. I have this one in my design in my past direction. And it's a bit strange, right? That the elevation is that you even accept humiliation. But if you see the challenge, and this is something that's really, when Karen was reading this, if you look at, you know, today's world, like what is happening, there's Karen again. Hi, Karen. Yeah, we just continue to, we cannot hear you yet. Your audio is connecting. There we go. Can we hear you? Your audio is muted. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah.
There we go.
Hi.
I just got excluded.
Yeah, you did. But I really like how you accepted even humiliation to find a way to achieve inclusion. That was great. Nice job.
So the 45 took over and put up the slides. So.
Oh God.
That was hilarious.
Third Sunday, yeah.
I was asking a question and like nobody's video was there. I'm like, wait, what happened?
What's going on? We kicked you out. Like, we don't like that question. Anywho.
So where are we now?
We're right here. We were talking about it being a third line day, and Lavina got kicked out too. She's back. So anyway, we're just having a little party here, gathering together, and you know, seeing who will last long enough to. Like,
can you see my screen, Karen?
Yeah.
Yes, I can.
Oh, okay. So yeah. Just
wow. So if you're taking a look at what could happen today, you could get excluded.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So, you know, the instinct to find a way to be included in the material process. So, Lavina and I found a way to get back to be included in the material process. Absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, but what I also, the other one, the challenge, that's what we see in the world, right? The expression of frustration were not included, and the violent reaction to exclusion, and kind of people, I would almost say, projecting or feeling excluded when it may not even be the case, or in that extent, right? So yeah, that's something may show up today. And
Yep.
I hope that that we find a way to include everybody again.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
unity, just we.
Right, exactly. You know, it's interesting. You know, we've seen sort of a pattern as we've taken a look at these material traits. Is kind of, we went from splitting apart, right, to bringing things back together. And so, you know, as we're struggling, as we're trying to take a look at, you know, what's going on and how does it figure out and what's our inner truth, really, you know, searching for, you know, really how we can gather together, and how things have split apart. And sometimes you do need to split apart things to wake people up, to, you know, to wake ourselves up, you know, to see, you know, what's not working, so that you can take a look at then gathering together. So very, very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Shall we take a look at the celebrity of this week?
Yes, yes. So it was very interesting. Of course, as I was taking a look at who was born on this day, I found it very interesting. Prince Philip, he's the Duke of Edinburgh, and he's also Queen Elizabeth's husband. He has trait 45 in the third quality as his core essence. And so his life work is rulership. Right? He's the husband of the Queen. You are here to be offered or exercise power. In current times, this translates to boardrooms, you know, of the corporate world of CEOs. And I thought this was just very interesting about his history. He was born in Greece, and he was born into Greek and Danish royal families, and he was born in Greece, but his family was exiled from the country when he was an infant. Again, we're talking about this exclusion. So I just thought it was really fascinating, you know, with the 45, quality 3, you know, that even at a young age, he was excluded. And then after being educated in France and Germany and the United Kingdom, he joined the British Royal Navy in 1939 at age 18. And from July 1939, he began corresponding with the 13-year-old Princess Elizabeth, whom he first met in 1934, and he married Elizabeth on the 20th of November in 1947. So again, you know, this rulership, so we can see the rulership here. We can also see where the exclusion happened here as well. So again, just kind of a fascinating observation of how that works. Anything, Lavina or Chris or Natalie, that you would like to add here?
Crystal's like,
There's so many things I want to say, and I'm just like, nah, I don't think so. I better not. Oh God. Okay, I'll say something, because I'm like, and I know this is so not even like, it's so random, off topic, but I'm just like, if an 18-year-old was corresponding with a 13-year-old today, we'd be like, oh, that guy's going to jail. You know what I'm saying? I just think it's really, anyway, I have a little girl. Maybe that's why I'm focused on that. But anyway, I'm sure it was all on the up and up. But
yeah, I think kind of an interesting dynamic. I think, you know, times being a little bit different then too.
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know if we were here yet.
Oh, we're not there yet. Are you there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Up,
okay.
up. There we go.
where we are is all over the place today.
Yeah.
Right? Just all over the place.
See, when you're taking a look at a third quality day.
Yeah, exactly.
And Lavina said, yeah, and royals always want to keep it in the family, right?
Yeah.
It's always, you know, the bloodlines of rulership, and yeah, so it's a very interesting dynamic. Yes. Well, very cool. Any questions, any comments, or anything that that anyone would like to add or share anything in the comments area.
I cannot see the commentary anymore.
Oh, okay.
No,
Oh, God.
not an excuse. But
Someone else was laughing too, saying they said they were thinking the same thing too about the dates and the
yeah,
ages. I know, like it's so funny. And maybe it's the therapist me, and then I know Amy who commented laughing about she's also a therapist. Again, it's one of those things where you just what we see how things change over time, and what we would focus on, what would not be, what would be considered okay and legit at one time is not, and how the transformation occurs, how we evolved. So
Yeah, exactly. Very, very fascinating.
yeah.
Well, very cool. Well, thank you, everyone, for being a part of our BG5 Live. Apologize for the technical difficulties, but again, it all just represents what this day is all about. So once again, we invite you, especially if you're new to BG5, to get a free report. So you can visit our website at the BG5businessinstitute.com. This is where you can also find and follow along with the theme for the day. So if you scroll down on the homepage, you'll see the theme for the day. You'll also find a link to the replay eventually. Once we get it up, we'll get it up later on today, of Chris's webinar. And you can also watch past episodes as well if you go to our free resource library. Yep, there we go. That's where you'll be able to find, and we'll actually have Chris's webinar there also as well. But that's where you can find the past BG5 Lives. You can also find it on YouTube as well. All right, and again, we invite you to join and watch the replay. We'll have it. There's the link there. You can find the link on the homepage, and we will have the replay up shortly. So we'll have it up by the end of the day. So we invite you to take a look at that, and of course, check out our courses and programs that are coming up. So Chris is going to be teaching a BG5 foundation course. Lavina is going to be teaching a BG5 certification course. So be sure to check them out. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. We would love to support you in joining this BG5 journey, because it's really fun, very fascinating. Not only does it help you really ground and learn about yourself, it gives you an opportunity of a way, especially as a coach or consultant, to take this information and deliver it to others as well. So let's wrap up today's discussion. And from our panel, what are some things that people should be aware of, to pay attention to, especially as we continue in Trait 45? What are some things in the next few days just to be aware of? Would you like to start, Natalie?
Yeah, so it's hard. It's, of course, I have it in my own design, so it's a bit hard to talk about. But what came to mind also, because some people in the Facebook group were saying, I don't have the 45, I don't have the 21, to observe the world. And I mean, the world we are in today, you really can see this. So either the healthy way of using this and gathering together and doing it for, to create this unity and to all benefit, or in an unhealthy way and, taking advantage of the gathering, right? And using it for your own benefit or for your own good. And then, watching how it plays out in the world, how you can, because you can actually see the theme of the day show up as a theme, right? In either a healthy or an unhealthy way. And I think we really have kind of the extremes, as we were talking about as well, of both sides acting right now. So interesting to watch the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's a fascinating time to be alive. And again, it can be unnerving. It can be, scary at times. But again, following your decision-making strategy will always keep you grounded. As we watch the change in play, the change is happening right before our very eyes. Yes. How about for you, Lavina?
One of the things you could look out for with this trait is to listen for the keynotes of people talking about what other people have to, must, should, and to just be very wary of that voice, you know, when it's coming from dominance and submission, or we must because people like us do things like this. Those are just some of the qualities you can watch out for. And also, like I mentioned earlier, with the 21, if you have a 21 on the other side, what tends to happen on these kinds of weeks where the 45 is there for so long is that at some point, boom, you might have this impulse to shop. It's like shopping therapy for the 21 or the 45 to go and like acquire things. It might make your ego feel good temporarily, but you know, this is where we can end up with buyer's remorse. Like, why did I spend all this money on that thing and it didn't really bring me happiness? And for me personally, I'm like looking at all these courses I want to take and going, God, I really want to take that right now. And so just be aware, you know, rather than trying to manipulate or strategize, just watch, just observe and be aware and recognize that it's just part of
the frequency.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, thank you, Lavina. I hope you're you haven't been excluded again.
When you're shopping, a new, part of the movie, she says part of the movie was the,
Okay, good.
there. A new microphone, that might be a good job for this. Maybe it is just technology. It's just our technology. Oh,
And Lisa is saying, yes, I have the 21 and classes and education is my biggest expense. Yeah.
I hear ya. Me too, Lisa. Me too. I have the 21 and not the 45. It's so it's the internet. Lavina says it is the internet. Certification happy. Yes, exactly.
How about for you, Chris? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just listening to. I think it's great. I love what Lavina just said about notice where the voices of that. I just think that was such a brilliant way to look at it. Is there's a lot of information again coming out right now and bringing us back to trait 61, which is activated for all of us. Really looking at for our inner truth. We're all activated in, you know, our BS detector is up. It's like, what is the truth here? And just listen to the voices of, you know, again, if you listen to the last few episodes, the different kinds of voices, you'll note how they sound and where are they showing up in the world, in the media, in leadership, online. And I just really, what's your reaction to it? What's your response to it? And to go with your decision-making strategy for sure. And I'm just gonna put my credit cards on ice or something like that for a few more days. Until... Yeah, anyway, thank you.
I love
Thank
that.
you, Lavina, for letting me know that.
Yeah, Lavina says I have the certifications to prove that I'm in control of my material path. Exactly. So, I just echo everything that our panel has said. It really is a time to really just be aware of, you know, what are the voices of leadership? Where are people gathering you together? You know, where do they want you to be a part of, you know, their group, or where are you excluded, right? And where will you compromise yourself just in order to be included? So just be careful of that as well, especially today. You know, so again, we're all going through this craziness of what's happening in the world, you know, together as humanity. Again, we're waking up to something new. We're waking up to a different way. We're waking up to who we are. And I think that's the biggest thing, is we're really waking up to who we truly are and where we fit into the big picture. And what we thought may have been true in the past may no longer be true, or may never have been true. We may have, you know, again, I've talked about this many times. We've been in this era of illusion and delusion. We're moving towards wisdom. And I think it's part of the whole process. And so I think, especially as we take this journey through form, we're taking a look at and exploring the different voices, you know, and we're going to be exploring some pressures as well. within form. And, you know, we're moving towards the 15 of humanity. That's going to be one of the themes here in the next couple of weeks as well. So it's going to be interesting how that all lines up. So continue to stay awake, alert, follow your decision-making strategy. And again, that decision-making strategy is always going to keep you safe and, you know, give you the right, you know, the right thing to do at the right time. So trust that, trust yourself, love yourself. And it's been great. Thank you so much, each and every one of you here that is on our Facebook Live, as well as our Zoom Live, as well as listening to us via the recording. We so appreciate it. So have a fabulous week, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, we'll be taking a look at the 12. Or no, not the 12. Was it the 12? Yeah, we're taking a look at the 12. That's of caution. So we're moving from gathering together to caution next week. All right, so look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye, everyone. Bye. Bye.